You just want to say, first of all, if you're watching, or if you're listening and not watching, you'll tell my hair, it looks awesome today. Really, really great hair day for me. Have to thank Jess down at Goat Haircuts in South Jordan. She does my hair. She's done my hair for a long time. I went in for my appointment this week, sat down in the chair, and something's a little different about her. She seems a little bit more energetic. She's a little bit more bubbly. Her kids got sick last week, and she was like a little unwell for a day or two, but recovered it pretty quick. And she mentioned to me, like, oh, I'm feeling really good. My energy feels really good. I'm like, okay, what have you done? What's different? And she said, I started fasting again. And I said, yep, I have seen that once or twice or 1,000 times before. It is absolutely amazing how universal fasting is when you get that glow, when you hit that kind of like, few days into a fasting regimen and you're starting to like flow with it, you look completely different. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. We see that all the time. And I've been doing this for a long time. And so when I talk about fasting, I talk about extended fasting. So it's not just time restricted eating or delayed onset or what we call intermittent fasting. I think that's a great intermediate step towards full fasting. But I can go back through my records, my social media posts, my pictures on my camera, and I can say, yeah, fasting there, not fasting there. I don't know what I was doing there, and this and that. But you can see it, and it's pretty consistent, pretty reliable. You get the fasting glow, and it's like you said, it's really undeniable. Not everyone knows what it is. They're like, but they know something's different. They're like, hey,
Something's different.
what are you doing? What's going on? Something is different. It just comes across that way, and it's pretty reliable.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as she mentioned that, you could tell that like right through the cheeks were like, a little bit less puffy. Like you could tell the inflammation is going down, all those signs that you see once you've been doing this long enough. It's pretty cool stuff. We've had fasting for millennia, arguably for lots of different reasons. And so I'm very excited to chat about metabolic health and in particular fasting with you today. But before we do, if you don't mind, share the story with how you got into chiropractic care and how that eventually led into, other things that you were interested in the clinic that you started.
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to. As much as I would like to take the credit for the out of the box, the different kind of thinking, the health worldview that I have, it was given to me. My father's a chiropractor, my uncle, my aunt, my cousin, my sister, my ex-wife, my daughter, her husband, and six people in her family. So it's like there's
Wow.
at least 15 in our family, and my dad was one of the biggest in the profession for a very long time, and so. I was brought up in this world, in this you can call it alternative or you can call it natural health. You can call it this different healthcare worldview. And so, in my own personal evolution with chiropractic, I practiced outside the States for 10 years. We did a lot of different things. We had kids and raised kids, and we came back. And when we came back from being 10 years out of the country, it was like a reverse culture shock. And that's what really made me get back into my roots because I was just doing chiropractic out there. So I have a degree in nutrition. So I got back into nutrition. We got the gym in the office. We're like, hey, I'm looking down the road here for my kids. They were younger then and this and that. And I go to their school and I see what's going on. I'm like, it felt like a different world. There was a lot of health and allergies and different problems going on. I went to the PTA meetings. I could see health issues and all the parents too. And so we did it as a form of integration for ourselves and our family first, and then we expanded out into different practices and medical chiropractic and different integration that way. And now we've been upholding that out of necessity because health has become it's not a default anymore. The default is sickness, right? And so if you either proactively improve your health, or you will passively lose it. And so that's where the basis came on. And fasting came about because I went through my own health scare. I went through some of my own health scares and I tried and being in this world, I knew things to do. I knew to tighten up my nutrition. I knew how to get back in shape. I knew how to do these different things, but it wasn't moving the needle. And so I changed my diet. I changed this, I changed that. And eventually I got to fasting, not my first choice. Just like wasn't my first choice to be the fasting guy now. That's talk about odd man out of a group of odd men here as far as that goes. But it was very profound and it helped me through my issue. And I started to apply it and I started to talk to patients and we started to do. And then that's when I started to study it and get training and things like that. We're talking over 20 years now, as far as that goes traditionally. And that's what brought me there because of it's extremely powerful.
Wow. That's amazing. What is it about chiropractic care that tends to stay in families? I've noticed that with that occupation. I don't notice it with other occupations where like my dad is an accountant, all of my cousins are accountants, I'm an accountant, my kid's an accountant. Like you don't see that in hardly any other occupation. I notice it all the time in chiropractic care.
Well, I think it comes down to a lifestyle. It's not everyone's like that, obviously, but you grow up in this genre, in this thinking, in this lifestyle as as you the way you live. It's the way you live. And so as you grow up, I didn't want to be a chiropractor at first. I went through high school and everything, and my everyone ever always asked me if I'm going to be a chiropractor because of my dad. My initials are DC. They thought that was great. Oh, you're going to DC. They thought it was done. It wasn't until I actually went to a seminar with my dad on my own just to check it out and met some students and got into it, and then met some second generation, what we would call people who have a chiropractor in their family that they go to school. And I found kind of the community and everything. And I got into it by my own choice rather than feeling I had to be pushed into it by my family. And that made all the difference for me. And so I think it runs in families because of the lifestyle. It comes down to values and priorities. And I think it's hard to go outside that bubble once you've adopted that as part of your life.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Probably most people are not as ignorant as I am when it comes to this, but it wasn't until talking to certain chiropractors on this show that I realized how expansive chiropractic care was. Like if I said, "Oh, that's cool, you're a chiropractor. My back feels fine. I feel okay right now. I don't need to come see you." How would you respond to that?
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of different focuses and specialties and interests within chiropractic, just like there is with medicine and any or fitness or nutrition and anything else. Like for example, I had one of the largest practices of its kind in the world, and all I worked with was the first two bones in the neck. I didn't go any further down, and I saw people with back pain, with sciatica, with headaches, with everything that came in, and that we were able to help them through that. I also had what's called full spine practices, where you adjust a full spine. You use different techniques, or the table might move, or instrumentation. I've been through that because I work with the Olympic teams in Costa Rica. That was part of what I was out of the country for, and we had a different assessment for them for an athlete in competition. We traveled around with them and we did that whole thing. And so as far as someone thinking it's just about their back, it's only we only think it's about their back because that's where our spine is. But the reality is there's a nervous system inside of it that goes to everywhere that makes a big impact. And so if our nervous system was housed in our knee, we'd be knee doctors. But we think
Mm.
back because that's where it is. And so you can really access overall function in the whole body through the spine when you have that focus.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think a lot of people might have a misconception about what exactly you do. You mentioned your degree in human nutrition. Going back, learning, human nutrition in school. What things were you taught back then?
Well, it's pretty. Looking back, I can tell you it's pretty conventional. It was at a university that it had the largest chiropractic school in it, so there was that influence. So we had that veil of how we're looking at these things, but it was pretty conventional looking back. And I even my thesis was on vegetarian living back then. And if anyone's followed me now, they know that I talk about as far away from that as possible. I'm almost anti-plant in my approach and gone the other way around. We've done everything in between. So I would say as far as an education, getting the degree, so to speak, it was your basic approach. All my learning came from my application with myself and with my practice, ranging from different people, like we mentioned, the sports element, we and kids and all that kind of thing. So the extra study I did was in that realm. And I got into cellular nutrition because I teach this stuff at continuing education seminars for doctors, chiropractors, nutritionists, and other people. And it all comes down what's happening inside that cell. What's the physiology say? Because if the physiology seems sound, then whatever I want to apply should be sound as well. If there's a new fad diet or thing going on and it doesn't make sense on that physiology level, then I go, I don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But if you go really down into it should all make sense and you should be able to communicate it well. And that's what I got into over the years.
Got it. And to be fair, like when you went to the school, it would have been irresponsible of them to teach you anything other than, plant heavy diets, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of whole grains. Like that's where we were at the time. Of course, the reason why we were there is probably not as well known, and we know that's not true. But that was the main message then. It would be irresponsible for the college to teach anything different then, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's basically you're getting your ticket to ride, right? In this practice realm of healthcare that we're talking about, you need to have some kind of basis and foundation. And I understand that. And at the time, I was young. I was just doing it because that's what I wanted to do, right? And I wanted to go down that road. I got influenced because of the vegetarian swing, because yeah, the teachers were in that realm. My girlfriend was a vegetarian. Guess what that made me?
Exactly.
vegetarian, right? I call myself a recovering vegetarian now, but that's just the influences that we have. It's a great basis for other things, but it doesn't stop there. And even now, I don't think it should stop there. We have to continue learning and digging in deep on these things.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you said your learning was experiential. It sounds very similar to, kind of my understanding after getting my nutrition certification. You go out, you tell people what to do, eat different colors of vegetables, eat until you're 80% full. Here is the size of a serving of a whole grain. Make sure your proteins are lean. And like, it's not, I don't know. You just feel like people are ignoring you or they're non-compliant. Like and you realize over time, like they can't do it. Even people in my industry can't do this for very long. That like it's not working. There's too many, groceries that they're buying and food's going bad at the end of the week, and people are craving pizza by Friday. You know what I mean? Like, was that similar to your experience?
Yeah, I learned early on that telling people what to do doesn't work, especially when it comes to eating, right? Or something like or habits. It didn't work well. And I've authored 27 recipe books. I've done full meal plans. I've done the whole thing you're talking about. It just if I can teach them how it works, they can then choose what they want within that, and it's much more sustainable. It doesn't have to look one way or the other. They can then be an active part of it, learn something today, apply it today, feel it tomorrow, type of thing. But I did notice that when I would give out the recipes or the prescription diet or whatever, it's just like you're saying, people don't want to be told what to do. But if they understand how and why this is working the way it's working, then they work within what they're already doing. Because everyone thinks they want they're so unique and they need all this variety. But when you really look at what people eat, we go back to the same things almost all the time, right? Even at the restaurants, even at home and stuff. So if we can work within that and learn how to stack it, do it, time it, and incorporate some other lifestyle strategies in there, we can get more out of it. The book that I'm working on, the subline is how to get any diet to work again. If it's worked before, it can work again, and that comes down to lifestyle nutrition. That comes down to how you approach it, how you combine it, timing, spacing, right? And learning the hormonal responses to food to stack it in your favor. Because even sometimes we can have a perfect plan, looks good on paper, all the numbers are right, but it's not changing. We're not changing. Why? It could be all those other lifestyle. I call them the hidden insulin magnifiers, hormonal disruptors in our approach that can be changed. And if we do that, then whatever diet we liked or has worked before can work again.